guys, and welcome to 4Ps in a Podcast. Today's episode is the ethics of everyday life, making choices matter. For today's discussion, we will be dissecting the book, The Problem of Pain by C.S. Lewis, and answering these questions. What is the second element found in all religions, the moral experience?
What is the commonality found in all moralities throughout time?
What are some of the consequences of rebelling against the supernatural or disregarding morality?
What even are the consequences of ignoring the numinous with morality?
These are just some of the questions that we will be discussing, so let's dive in.
How's it going? I am Luke Scoggins, a wide receiver at Calvary Football.
Hi guys, I'm Izzy and I'm a cheerleader at Calvary.
What's up? I'm Hamilton. I'm an O-lineman for Calvary.
Hey everyone, it's Natalie, and I'm your facilitator, and I am also a cheerleader here at Calvary. So just an opener question to kind of get us rolling is, what is a terrible gift that you have gotten, and how did you react and why?
So I'll start. I was around the age of 7, maybe 8, and Christmas was rolling around, and I always look forward to my aunt's gifts because she's known to have some great gifts.
Okay.
And so the day of Christmas, I go over to her house, and I had this big old round thing wrapped, and it's Luke written all over it. So I was very excited. I go to unwrap it, and it is a Star Wars cutting board. And I said thank you. I wasn't sure what to do with it at that age. I didn't even know what it was. But,
Chef Luke, period.
I'll go. So I was a kid, like 7 or 8, and we went to my grandparents' house, and my aunt, she usually gives okay gifts, not great, but good. But anyway, so she gave me and my brother 2 huge, like, college, high school level footballs when we were 7 or 8, and they were also deflated.
Oh no.
So yeah, but we said thank you and moved on.
Yeah.
One time on my birthday, my aunt made me. I don't know how old I was. Like I
Okay.
was like teenage years, so like getting into jewelry, but not really.
Right. Yeah.
So she made me like awkward jewelry that she made herself. It was orange and blue. But crap.
what's your bid for that?
Orange and blue, like, could you go for Auburn?
Yes.
Hey, War Eagle.
Good dogs.
Good dogs.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Okay, well, my
Consoles
turn.
off.
I'll talk about. I see it's funny because it's all your aunts. Mine's actually my great grandma. Okay, So it was, I think, for Christmas as well. It wasn't my birthday. I was pretty young, and she's like known for giving like these really weird gifts. Like my mom used to tell me about it like all the time from when she was little. That like her mom would give, like my grandma would give her stuff, and she'd just like not know what to do with it because it was like nothing she liked. And so I also experienced that. She got me this like little like wind up carousel.
Mm-hmm.
So like, you know, the jewelry boxes like with the ballerina and it'll like make music. It was like the same type thing, but it was a carousel. And I just got it and I was like, oh, it's so pretty. Thank you. Like I just kind of left it alone because of course she's just a sweet little lady. I didn't want to hurt her feelings.
Yeah.
But like I can see though, like as we've like shared our stories that like even though it was something we didn't expect or like it was something like that wasn't necessarily like our style or taste, we still were grateful for what we got because it was just that's what we were taught. You're not just going to say something rude to someone just because it wasn't what you like or anything like that. Yeah. And like obviously we reacted the way we did because it wasn't anything that we necessarily had to learn. It was just something that we just kind of know. So it was kind of taught, but you just know that was the right thing to do.
Basic morals.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And we were all so young.
Right.
Like that's what our parents taught us even at a young age to do.
Yeah. Speaking of our age, I think a few of us, like our age, example the Barstool, have some really questionable morals when it comes to sports.
Yes, I do recall some posts about me at a certain party that is
Yeah.
not family friendly.
Right?
Not at all.
Over a high school football game.
Yeah.
What a way to start a Friday night, huh? And not even just coming out football players, cheerleaders as well.
Yeah, certain cheerleader. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Very questionable things that I feel like say a lot about someone's character. Or school, rather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So speaking of football, you know. So in a team, you have leaders on and off the field, and you have a coach to help you on the field, but off the field, you don't. So it's going to be different from your message on the field and then in the locker room.
Yeah.
It shows that if you don't have a coach to keep track of you, then it really shows what kind of team you are. It shows that if you'll play for your team or you're just playing because you like football.
Right.
And if you play for your team, then you'll do a lot better and you'll be a family and you can take that farther than football. So
Yeah, because you're like looking out for others, not just
Yeah.
yourself on the field. That's good. I like that.
Yeah, and I mean, like, as football players, we understand basic morals on the field.
Yeah.
Like, if you get a, I guess, unsportsmanlike penalty call or something, you can't really scream at the ref because it was your fault. And then again, screaming at the ref isn't going to solve anything.
Yeah.
It might actually make things worse. Right. Like, giving you another flag for,
sportsmanlike.
yeah. But like, small things like that, we just understand because we were, raised on the football field. So the coaches just kind of,
But like it kind of like helps
Installed
you.
it
Like
in
yeah,
us,
exactly.
yeah.
You've
Yeah.
known it from a young age, and now it just kind of comes naturally.
yeah. And because understanding morals is like not just on the football field, but like growing as adults, you have to understand other people's morals.
Yeah.
Like,
100%.
Respect other people
Yeah.
and stuff.
exactly. And just like how we get penalties in football, you can get like in trouble in real life.
Yeah.
Both things will set you back. So there's no point to do either one or the other.
I agree. And like, since you were saying like in life, there's penalties you can get. I completely agree with that. But since like obviously right now we're only still in high school, most of our life is spent at the school. And even though we were just talking about football fields at the school. So like here, I feel like we can apply it to like classroom rules and like how we respect each other as students and teachers and whatnot. Because there's still other like penalties that we get in school and things that we know we should follow by like dress code and things like that. But they'll have like different violations, A, B, C. You know how one's
Yeah.
worse than the other, and
Yeah.
one's not so bad.
Yeah, bunch of unspoken rules too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because no one's just gonna like scream at their teacher because they got a bad grade. Because that's just not how you act.
I would hope.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Most people.
Here at Calvary, we're not because we know public schools are
Quite
Yeah.
different.
very different,
They'll fight the teacher.
literally.
Yeah.
Which is
Seen a few videos of throwing chairs at teachers.
literally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of scary for
It
those
is.
teachers. Like public school teachers are like in danger. I mean, students too, but like and like I feel like that can also set, which also makes like Calvary so set apart too, is because we
Mhm.
install these certain morals that a public school there's so many kids and there's just
Mhm.
like the Lord is just not really present, not present like. He is not a center point of those
Yeah.
schools. So like there's not things that are expected of them like biblically and
Yeah.
things like that. So I definitely
Well, I think it helps that our school bases our moral standard off the Bible because we're a
Exactly.
Christian school and they don't.
yeah, for sure. That definitely changes the dynamic of everything like a lot. So as we were talking about this, why do you think that as Christians, like we tend to make some moral standards worse than others? Because I feel like we're all guilty of that for sure.
Yeah, like in the Bible it says like all sins are technically the same,
Right.
but I don't think a lot of people look at it like that. Like I would say killing someone and like littering, completely different things, but according to the Bible, it's like
Still
sin is sin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's equal.
yeah,
And I think that's just something we always have to take into consideration just because as humans in our sinful nature, like we're so quick to just be like, to point fingers or judge people. And even though someone on death row is just as bad as someone who just littered, which is
Yeah.
something I feel like we definitely need to always like keep in the back of our mind because then we almost start looking like a hypocrite when we try to make people's sin seem worse than ours just because in our eyes it's not the same to the same extent.
Yeah.
But obviously in the Lord's eyes it's all the same.
Sin is sin.
Literally, sin is sin. 100%. So, with that, do we think that morality is subjective or objective?
I would say more objective than subjective because personal opinions are like everyone has their own opinion.
Yeah.
And that's understandable because everyone's different.
Yeah.
But we all gotta have this common knowledge that respecting one another is a need in
Yeah.
like the society basically.
Yeah.
If you don't respect friends or your neighbors or strangers, you're not gonna have your relationship. You're just a lot of bad things come towards you. You know?
Yeah. I agree with that for sure.
I think as Christians, it's objective, but with the rest of the world, it's like more subjective with them because
I agree.
it's cultures and stuff.
So you're saying that like cultures are a reason that people feel that morality or even morality in the Bible is subjective?
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
Just because the way that they were taught and brought up, and not as Christians, but as just normal people. It's like just how their parents taught them, how their friends act and stuff like that.
Yeah. That's good. So, like, with that being said, how there's things that are subjective and objective, and it comes with culture and things, how that kind of forms how we think about morality and things like that. How do we feel about, like, as far as morality? I feel like people can really get things twisted with like abortion, lethal injection if you're on death row, things of that sorts that people really get like fired up when talking about. When I feel like if the world was more centered in the word and like that would make things more peaceful so that things like that wouldn't even like get to that point because there's this big argument with like abortion where it's like, well, it's just a clump of cells, but to a Christian we know that like life happens at conception.
Yeah.
Because that is a fact, but that is something that's been so objective or subjective, and it causes just like this big controversy around everyone, and not just in America, like everywhere.
Well, yeah.
And it even like carries into like politics and things like that on like who are you going to vote for because of your certain morals, like, well, do they match up with mine? And sometimes they do and sometimes they don't, or sometimes they just have one and not the other, and it makes like things really difficult. And I just feel like if the moral like standard for everyone was the same, like the world could be so peaceful. Like, what do y'all think?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. Like, if we all had one base to go off of, and it being the Bible, it would help with peace and just
I think people are very quick to like speak about these things before they sit down and think about if what they're saying or doing is morally right. Like,
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
I like how you said that. That hyped me up.
Yes, girl, keep
But,
going. That was good.
The controversial topics, I feel like people look back at the Bible and look like at the subject they're talking about and then think about it and take time to like pray about it and like consult the Holy Spirit and see what they feel is right, because that the Holy Spirit is real. You know, like feel like if what you're doing is right, if what you're saying is right, then I feel like that's just gonna help you when you come to controversial.
Oh yeah, like that undeniable tug that like when you start saying something or you act a certain way, just like you know it's so present and real. That's good. It's really good. And I feel like when someone does accept the Lord, like when the Holy Spirit is within someone, it makes them have a desire to follow the ways of the Lord. So then like setting that moral standard or thinking about should I do this or should I not becomes like not so difficult. It's not so big of a question anymore because it just starts to come naturally because the Holy Spirit gives you that peace in knowing what you're doing is pleasing to the Lord, or it gives you peace in knowing that you don't have to deal with like the FOMO of not doing something that's wrong or anything like that. And it can just make, again, your life more peaceful, and in your decisions make it a lot smarter decisions and things like that. Yeah.
Well, when you said that, it reminded me of 1 Corinthians 5:3 that even though he's not like with us physically, he's still like with us in spirit. And so I think him living inside of us does help with our decisions.
Amen, sister. So, a quote that I pulled from C.S. Lewis is, "In reality, moral rules are directions for running the human machine. Every moral rule is there to prevent a breakdown or a strain or a friction in the running of that machine. That is why these rules at first seem to be constantly interfering with our natural inclinations." When I first read this, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little confused.
Yeah.
But like honestly, I just had to read it out loud. I don't know if y'all are that way,
Yeah.
but I read it out loud and it starts to kind of just like sit with me more and I can understand it. And I felt like he used such a good analogy. Talk like comparing our body and like our minds and things like that to a machine, and how there's certain things placed in a machine or certain tools you use or certain things that keep it together that are there for a purpose. And obviously in this it says that the morals are there to prevent a breakdown or a strain or a friction. So then we can continue to run how we should. And I thought that was just so good because like you can just think about basic machines, like without a bolt here or a screw there, like it could just completely fall apart.
You need all those little parts.
Exactly. And they're also vital to our morals and how we go about our life. And I don't know, I just really wanted to share that because I just thought it was so good.
Well, it made me think of what Hammy said about like if the whole world based their morals off the Bible.
Yeah.
And it was like we are all part of a machine, and I know not everyone in the world is Christian.
Yeah.
But imagine if none of the world were Christians and we all just had like weren't basing any morals off the Bible. We would all have like our own morals.
Exactly.
Because even though we were like raised up, we were all pretty much like raised on the Bible, so
Yeah.
the morals of the Bible,
Right.
like most people. But I think, like you saying, if the whole world was written on the Bible, and then saying like we're a machine, I think the Bible is a part of running the machine.
I agree.
Yeah, huge part.
Yeah, Bible, Holy Spirit, all that. Like,
Yeah.
controls the machine.
And that actually, what you just said, it just made me have this thought too. It was like, why did I lose it? Oh Lord, help me come back. No, help me come back. I just had it. It was literally right there. Oh, people don't realize, like people who are not Christian. So you know how we say the golden rule, treat
Mhm.
others how you want to be treated?
Yeah.
People who are not Christians, it's just amazing to me how every moral literally comes from the Bible, whether you recognize it or not. Treat others how you want to be treated is directly from the Bible. Lord forgive me, I don't know exactly what verse, but like I know that's what it says. Obviously it's been more worldly worded,
Yeah.
and we just say it like that, but like you could literally find what that is saying in a verse, in a parable, and things like that that literally back it up completely. And it's just like so amazing to me though how people don't even realize that, but they do live by it. It's like they're so close, but they're yet so far because they're
Like-
doing the right thing, but without the Lord, good works doesn't get you into heaven.
Yeah.
Like it's so almost pointless to a point. Like, okay, you get a cookie for being nice to someone because that's the right thing to do, but at the same time, it's like, what do you even do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny that you say that because literally the verse is right here on my computer. It's Luke 6:31, and it says, "As you wish that others would do to you, do so to them."
There it is, everyone.
Yeah.
Luke 6:31. Man, it's just, and I think that's why it's also just so important that we're not ashamed of the Lord and we spread the word, because I'm sure there's plenty of people who don't, like I said, realize that even though they are actually following the Bible in a way, they don't know.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important that we draw people closer to God so that they can be part of the kingdom. And you know they say make heaven crowded, period. Let's have a party.